Okay, welcome to this extended demonstration of what extension. So before going to the explanation or the demonstration examples, I'll first explain you the philosophy behind this extension. Okay, so we humans are made unique in terms of curiosity. We have the curiosity to ask questions. When we were toddlers or kids, we used to ask two very basic questions to whatever we see. The first question we asked as a toddler to our parents was what? What is this? What is this, Mama? Then, as we grew, we had the labels of things that we have. Okay, we have an apple, we have a mobile, and when we grew a bit, we asked the second question, which was why? Why is it red, Mama? Why is it green apple, Mama? So that kind of questions we used to ask for learning things from the information that we have around. Okay, we had a blank canvas as a kid, and we used to question everything that we can for our understanding, whether it would be a toy, a comic book, a cartoon series, someone playing some music. We used to question everything as a kid. Okay, and then when we go to schools, schools try to teach you subjects with the perspective of answering instead of questioning. So you are given some marks to answer things instead of question things, and often this question and answering is limited to the scope of marks instead of questioning as deeper as possible to given subject. So critical questioning or critical reasoning is that field which gives you the tool to dig deeper into a subject as much as you can, using as much as you can question the root of information that you have. So it's like if I want to explain it in an easy way, you have an onion, and to reach the core of that onion, you just peel off the layers using questions. Okay, so the core is the actual information that you have, and there is abstractions, layers on layers of that onion, and you try to peel off that layers of onion, and you reach the core of that information. That is basically the critical thinking. Uh, what we can say the idea of critical thinking is, and for that you need this tool of critical questioning. And when you go to school, you get into this habit of answering, and then you go get into the idea of societal pressures, or uh, how will people react to my answer or question. Will teacher allow me to answer this question or not? Will teacher give me the right answer? Will she will she not like this question be asked in front of the students? Slowly you start feeling these things because it's not their problem. Sometimes your elders or your parents or be your teachers, they don't know the right answers, and so they'll do two things possible. One, they'll try to shut you off. They'll try to say, okay, silent, not the scope of this classroom, right? Or they'll try to give you answer they have made from their own, instead of having a strict logic to it, which is the root of critical thinking. You should have a logic to whatever you do, and not something to pain your brain, but whenever you take some decisions to make it right or to make it effective, there has to be a logic, a critically think or critically questioned logic to it. Okay, so this is like not to go in much deeper into that. As we grow as adults, in engineering college, or let's say in our fields of sciences that we study, when we are doing those things, we try to question more than our school time, because the overall the field becomes a little competitive around the topic that we are trying to learn. Okay, now we have to ask more questions, but we are questioning only around a particular box that we are trying to learn. Okay, we are not questioning everything that we have around us, and then eventually you either get lazy, or you don't like to ask questions, or often you put yourself into a habit that you no more know how to question things. and whereas it's very easy to question things to the root. Only problem is that you in traditional sense the trying to acquire the information to understand the answer is very hard. So since the answer is very hard to understand, we don't ask the question in the first place. So there, this is a little the scenario what we have of critical thinking. This is in general context. Okay, often the intellectuals try to do it differently. They know what are the problems or the impacts of not doing critical thinking in doing whatever they do. So the intellectuals try to do this thing on a daily basis with whatever they do. They don't take that information as is. They'll try to think it. They'll give a time of uh, why why should I do this, or what is the reason of that. They'll try to find a figurative answer to that. Okay, or let's say rational answer to that. What is the reason? Okay, of making a decision. For example, once I was in a restaurant and with my parents, and I just looked at the menu. I didn't wanted to buy anything, but I bought a item. And when I sat with my parents, I kept thinking of why would I have chosen to purchase a thing when ultimately when I picked that menu, I actually didn't wanted to buy anything, but I did purchase one thing. Uh, it kept me thinking, and then eventually I led to some answer. Not a topic of this discussion. What I'm trying to say is you have to, when you don't understand why or what happened or what is this information, how to read this information or what is this information, you have to do critical questioning, because when you try to ask the right question, you reach clarity in life, and that clarity brings a different experience of living. So if you want a good experience of living, you need that information coming in a right way. So to put it in very easy way, I'll tell you the significance of doing critical thinking. So when you have critical thinking, you exactly know how you define your happiness in life. You don't take that definition of happiness from others. Everyone have their own definition of happiness, and most don't have their own definition of happiness, is the critical part of that. So when you try to do critical thinking in life, you know exactly what makes you happy. What that is based on self-awareness, and that self-awareness comes from observation and critical questioning to yourself. So the fundamental question again goes back to this: how will you do that critical thinking? How will you question those things if you don't know about a given topic? For example, if I want to ask any question about Apple and I don't know anything about Apple, then how will I ask anything about Apple? So it goes back to the first question that we started with as a toddler. Okay, and the question was what. So this extension that I've built is named as what. Okay, the name of the extension itself is what. So we are going to question everything that we have on internet, which could be asked the what question, and it will generate some critical questions for me as a user or you, such that you don't have to spend your time asking the questions. And the more and more questions you want to ask, the more and more layers of that onion you want to peel off. It's completely upon you how much deeper you want to go. In a second, we will see what I'm trying to say. This might sound a little complex at moment for some of you, but as and when you'll see the demo, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's start with our first example. So I am on my own website. I have a description of my uh, website, and then there is this word critical thinker, which again I was explaining to you what critical thinking is. And what I'll do is, as a user, I don't know what is critical thinking. So since I've installed this extension and I have enabled this flag, let me show you this flag. Once you install this, you'll have to enable this experimental feature, which is prompt API for Gemini Nano model. And I have enabled multilingual, since I'll be selecting some non-English language contents as well in some examples. So I'm using multilingual. You can if you're just going to use in English, you can make it enabled, simply enabled only. Okay, so I'm here, and now I'll try to ask the extension that what is critical thinker. Okay, the question is pretty basic. What is critical thinker? the website says critical thinker, then what is critical thinker? It will try to generate an explanation, a simplified explanation for you, and then the core value that this extension adds to you is it will also generate some questions for you that if you read and you get curious about, you can iteratively ask the same question to the AI model, or further you can extend that search on web. Okay, I'll show you how. So let us wait for this to give an explanation of critical thinker, and here is the explanation. So critical thinking is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Okay, and we have some words highlighted over here which we can focus on, like evaluating evidence, identifying biases. So bias is a very important part in critical reasoning. So what are the key components of critical thinking, or how does cognitive bias impact critical thinking? So what I can do is, what are the components of critical thinking? I'll try to answer the same thing again back to the AI, the extension, what extension. So we have used the what extension on our content of the website, and the results, whatever result we had a word on that. Even on this screen, I can actually select this also back to so that I can ask this extension to explain me what is written on that. So this is a kind of iterative questioning of whatever we access on internet. This is the first example of my website. So critical thinking has some essential components to it, which is analysis. Then we have evaluation, and so on and so forth. Okay. So what's the difference between analysis and evaluation? Now I want to go a little off the extension. I want to search on web, so I can click on search. So what's happening over here is Google has produced me some AI-based results of explanation, and I also have other results from which we can access the information, as well as we also have the AI results produced by Google. Okay, so this is one part of it. And then if I go to some other question, for example, how can cultural background influence critical thinking style? So every cultural background shapes your belief systems, and that belief systems creates sometimes biases, or actually creates other areas of pros and cons to the critical thinking. And here is how they have explained it very well. Okay, perception and interpretation, and those all things. So we are not going into critical thinking over here. What we're trying to understand is, we had a word, we try to explain that word, then we have questions, then we use that question again to reiterate another critical thinking question into it, and that's how we are producing this kind of questions. And I can keep on asking this question. So let's say, for example, what are the potential consequences of lacking critical thinking? So what are the losses of not doing critical thinking, which I was telling you that it will try to explain you what are the loss or the consequences of not doing critical thinking in life, and based on that again it will produce some questions. So if you try to understand this, we are going layers into layers into layers, take out the information that we need to understand, and there, while doing that, you can come up, or you'll face something that you don't know, a word, a phrase, a quote, anything that you feel that this information is not something that I know. So you don't have to fear about that. You just have to select that particular text, and boom, you just can simply ask it what is the meaning of that. Okay, so financial decision making errors. Okay, now instead of that, I can go to Google search again. Now here is a word, let's say financial distress. Again, I don't know the meaning of this, and I'll say what. Okay, so again, I went to Google search page, and then I'm again asking what. Now if you look at this, it will generate the results. If you look at this, while I select financial distress, even Google provides a thing called as explain this. So in explain this, you get a UI over here, and you can even use the what extension on this piece of information further on this piece of information. Okay, so that is first example. Okay, it's just for this first example to explain you what is this extension. Now what the examples that I'm going to show you are also limited examples. What I'm trying to actually explain is, the domain of expertise or the kind of information is not a constraint of this extension. anything on the web can be questioned with a what. Okay, so let's say I am on a Science Direct document, and this is a research paper recently published which talks about co-localization of human eyelid. Uh, if I'm pronouncing it right, it is explaining some new ways to analyze this uh, type 1 type 2 diabetes genes. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just first select the article subject which I am not understanding what it is, and let's try to understand if we can explain this information to ourselves using this extension, a very simple extension. Okay, so just wait for a sec. Yeah. Okay, so it says that this research article discusses the identification of new genes associated with type 1 type 2 diabetes. It uses a new thing called to find genes that are linked to expression, quantitative trait, loci, EQT, LS, which we don't know what it is. And this word is coming again and again. Let's see what this word means. Okay, I selected a word from the explanation, by the way. I can select the question as well and part of question as well. So I actually selected the word and I'm now asking what this word is. Probably something related to diabetes, maybe pancreas or something kind of that thing. Maybe something. Yep. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's saying that a small cluster of cells found in the pancreas. Okay, pancreas is an organ located behind the stomach. Okay, it's explaining you the thing in a very simple language. Let's see if there is any question that we can go on web and see what are the different types of cells found in eyelid. Okay, I'll search this. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, now it's giving us some diagrams to grab. Okay, this is good, right? We had a question, we went to Google and Google pulled me some images and my learning process has become a little bit easy. Okay, and the biggest point to note from this example is to reach a good information piece while learning a thing. I didn't use any fingers to type the query on Google search. I haven't tried to search anything with my own hand. We have already ready-made questions to dig on, and let's say what is the role of this particular thing. I'll again reiterate this question. Don't know what it is. Role of apoptosis in an eyelid cell. Let's see what it is. So we are not just interested about the explanation, we are also interested to see what kind of questions we are asking. Okay, so apoptosis is a programmed cell death process that plays a crucial role in eyelid cell death. Okay, again we can go more deeper into this eyelid cell death thing since it's something new for me. Okay, and then we have how does oxidative stress influence apoptosis in an eyelid cell, or what are the difference between apoptosis and necrosis. Okay, let's search on web. Now we have these two easy examples of apoptosis and necrosis. Okay, we can dig deeper into that. Let's say apoptosis. We can explain. We can try explain. We can see related images again over here, and we can also do what again. That is just a way to dig information as much as we want. Okay, so this is about going into technical details of any document that you see that you don't know that information what it is, and you can try to understand the information. So I had zero experience or knowledge about this particular document, but still Since this looks a little bit cryptic to me, I tried to dissect that information into critical questioning box of mine, and I am trying to absorb as much as I can. I'm just showing you an example. If I sit 4-5 hours, I can actually at least take 30-40% of information from this document of what they are trying to do. Okay, usually first means traditionally we are not able to do this in a good way until unless we had this idea of AI or large language models. But since now this is inbuilt with Chrome, this particular use case is possible for us. Okay, so now I'll go to the next example, which is there is this document which is discussing some electronic components. Maybe this is a manual. Okay, this is a manual from marutsu.co.jp. It's a Japanese company, I guess, who create integrated circuits. And what I'm trying to understand is there is this absolute maximum rating document. Okay, I'm not trying to understand what this means, what these values correlate to this product. What I'm trying to understand is what it's actually explaining. What is this chart about? But if you see over here, this is a PDF document, right? So I can do this. So on my website there is this brain icon, right? You can click on this brain icon and there is this scratchpad. Scratchpad basically is a place where you can type and see the text. And what I'll do is I'll just copy that and paste it over here. Okay, and I'll triple click on it and I'll ask. So what I did is I'll grab that information and paste it over here. I'm just trying to inject it into the AI so that I can try to analyze what that information is. Now this idea behind this explanation would not be to explain each and every parameter of that particular thing. It's trying to explain what this piece of information is, and the more important part of this extension is to question what this information is. Based on that, it will try to explain what these parameter values are, what a particular keyword that has been used in it, what this could mean, and so we are trying to deal with the critical questioning part of that information instead of understanding things as is. That's the idea behind this component. So the text details that you see are absolute maximum ratings for an electronic component, likely an integrated circuit. It defines limits of voltage, current, temperature, and supply voltage, and those all things. But then it says what is the significance of absolute maximum ratings in electronic component design. So why is that table important? So absolute maximum rating AMRs are the critical limits must never be exceeded for an electronic component. So these are limits of an electronic component. The particular voltage, ampere, etc. Those values cannot exceed to that particular value, or this device could get hampered or damaged. Okay, so these are kind of also there is also one question: why are voltage and current ratings so important for electronic devices? Or let's see if there is what are the implications of different voltage ranges specified by VVA out and VCA out. So these are like two parameters that I've given in the table. And how do the voltage ratings at pin number this relate to gate driver output? Okay, so these are like questions that are raised based on that piece of information, which we can go deeper and deeper, one layer into another one, second layer, third layer, and then you can also again web search and see what is this information pulling out from the web without typing. You just imagine the string that we have entered into the Google search box. Voltage rating at pin 3, 14, 7, 6, 12, 15 related to gate driver output. If we have to write this particular query with hands, it's going to take a lot of pressure while building that query as typing. Okay, so well, if you are doing that manually, your focus is on typing the query, thinking the query. Now you're thinking about the meaning of it. Now you're thinking about the actual logic behind that information that you're trying to understand, not how to search that particular information. So that's the value addition of this particular component in this particular context. So now we'll move to the next example, which is social side. We have a social side where we have a question and there are some comments. So let's say what jobs are a lot harder than most people think, and maybe okay, this is something big. Let's try this. And it says, honestly, good on your parents for that. maybe there is some discussion going on, what someone shared an experience, and then I try to reply to that experience based on the question that we have. The question says what jobs are a lot harder than others. Okay, let's see. Now, since this is an opinion, now this is not an information or a specification document. This is a social content opinion that we are going to discuss with. So the user expresses strong feelings about a lack of empathy from those who haven't experienced poverty. So since now poverty and empathy came into play, the social logics, socioeconomic things start getting discussed into the questions, right? The first question is, what does socioeconomic status influence in individuals' opportunity in life trajectory? So is it true that people at the bottom side have a different gameplay to win in the life, and people on the top side have a different gameplay? Definitely. So it's discussing about that, and when we go on search, we get the basic idea, right? SCS significantly influences the life opportunity for affecting. It's not just about the opportunities in work, but also healthcare, right? And there you have some videos. So based on that, SCS videos has been discussed. I'll not show you the video, but what I'm trying to say over here is say this. Usually when you go on YouTube and you try to enter a subject or a topic to search, you are first again thinking what to search, then how to put it down, and then you have a lot of videos which can divert you from one topic to another. But this flow is a little bit different. You had an opinion. Based on the opinion, you have some topics and you have some questions on that, and that question leads to some information and related videos. This is the best way to find out relevant videos from YouTube around a given topic. Okay, I'll close this one for now. Yeah. So this is a different level of gameplay while searching for relevant videos for a given topic while doing research on Google Chrome. Okay, this to me is a very critical piece, because I can just imagine when I'm studying or trying to research something and I want to research some videos, I don't want to go on YouTube and try to find a lot of recommendations and see or filter out which videos are actually perfect to me. Google already does recommend that on their search pages. What I'm trying to do now is, like, I have a question ready made for that. I don't even have to think about that information question. I just had this information already appeared on the website. I'm trying to understand that, and while I'm trying to understand that, extension created some questions, and the question lead to me to the videos. A lot of time saved and a lot of things learned on the journey. Okay, again, I'm not using, it's just mouse click click click. Okay, and now I'm closing this, and the last example is multilingual one. Again, these examples are limited for now, since I want to try to reduce this video but in size, so that I'm not boring you guys. But you can use this with mathematics, you can use it with other types of contents, maybe exposed, LinkedIn post, job articles, whatever kind of information that you can grasp, recipes, or some other sorts of information. You want to go deeper into that information, you can do that. Okay, now I have this poem over here which is in Tamil. I don't know anything about Tamil, but I'm trying to learn this particular poem in this context over here, and I can select it and say what does this last line means. Let's see what does this last line means. Now this is possible because we enabled the multilinguistic feature of that prompt API, and it can understand this language and explain us this what it actually means. Okay, I'm sorry, actually I did recorded this video just before this, but I missed to record the audio properly, and I'm like feeling a bit dizzy while recording this. But yeah, I'm sorry for that if I'm looking a bit sleepy. So this explanation says that it translates roughly to, "Oh dear friend, you're a fragment like a beautiful flower." It is simply an evocative expression. Okay, so we have other questions based on that. How does Tamil poetry use metaphor and imagery to create vivid descriptions? And then now we are completely discussing what all Tamil poetry is. Okay, in the critical questions. since it's a poetry, we are understanding, or we are trying to explain the critical questions around poetry formation in that particular language. Okay, if we go one step down and we try to find out a meaning of a word, single word. Now we have a single word over here, which is jasmine. Let's see what critical questions it tries to give us based on that one word, jasmine. Okay, so this is a Tamil word meaning jasmine. It often symbolizes love, beauty, and fragrance in Tamil poetry and literature. So what is the symbolism associated with jasmine in Tamil culture? So now we are discussing Tamil poetry, Tamil culture, and symbolism and jasmine. So what are the historical significance of jasmine in Tamil Nadu? So now we are learning about jasmine and its historical significance in Tamil Nadu. And if you go to Google, we have the picture. We again we have the Madurai in front of us, and we have all this information over here. If you go to images, we'll have these images. Now we also have short videos on that, so that's something. That's one way of discovering more information, which I also mean that. So this what extension does two three things for you. It explains you the information that's in hand. It tries to raise critical questions for you as much as you want. You never run out of questions. Then it tries to keep you out of typing search queries. And then third is it's helping you to reach or discover information in the right form, in the right place, and in the right time. These are like three use cases of this. And again, the websites that I have trying to show you is these are just sample websites. There is no limit. We can go anywhere on the website, and any website, and wherever you can select the text, you just have to select the text and say that one question that you used to ask as a kid. What? Okay. With that, I will close this demo session. Okay. Peace.